For Shabbos, we have several mitzvahs. We're just going to touch upon a few of them. So, for starters, do not turn to the idols. We have to be extremely, extremely careful with what we learn, with what we study, that our minds and our hearts are so incredibly impressionable. And if we don't have sufficient knowledge of our own belief system and of our own cultures and traditions, it is so easy to get lost in the wrong side of things. And I have found so many youth that have said to me, I went to study, X, Y, and Z, and it was incredible. It was so eye-opening and it was so liberating. And I say, what are you talking about? But that's Jewish values. That is what we believe. Everything you just told me is straight from the Torah. And they're like, what? They had no idea. And so it is so important, number one, to actually study your own identity. Know what it means to be Jewish. Know what it means to have Torah values. And once you have enough of a footing, you will be able to realize that everything else out there is either nonsense or comes from the Torah. Number two, we are to keep our hearts and our minds in check. And this is a little bit easier said than done, but as you know, it is so important to keep our environment healthy and holy. If you're watching Netflix for the majority of the day, you're gonna walk around kind of behaving that way because we tend to behave like the main character of what we've been watching. And contrary to popular belief, we do have control over our heart and our mind. And not only do we have that control, but we are obligated to control them. Be careful with what you read. Be careful with what you watch. Be careful with the people that you surround yourself with, because they all have such an effect on who you are. And there's a very Hasidic concept that our minds control our hearts, as opposed to leading by our emotions, which is so easy to just go with what feels good. We are obligated to go with what we know is right. We need to be able to think about it, and we need to be able to let our minds govern our emotions. But that gets very, very difficult when our hearts are surrounded by so much nonsense. So be careful with what you see and what you hear, so that your mind is always the one in control. And lastly, for today, we are told, do not curse God. And this refers to, number one, just in the literal sense. Sometimes, we just get angry and can say something that we don't mean. And then sometimes when we get upset and something doesn't go our way, we might say some words that include some nastiness towards God. And we don't even mean to say that. We don't even realize what we're saying. And it is so important that we always are in control of our words. Don't let our words control us, because words have power. Words become things. And we want to be very, very careful that those are always positive and good and holy. Shabbat Shalom.